Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for the Detroit Lions versus the San Diego Chargers Week 1 matchup in the 2015 NFL regular season. We're going to go over the stats and the scoring summary and give our analysis. Let's start off with the scoring. And in the first quarter, the first score of this game, with just less than 5 minutes in, Amir Abdullah, a 24-yard rushing touchdown, the first of his NFL career, is the rookie from Nebraska, takes it all the way to the house. And with the extra point from Prater, it was 7-0 Detroit over San Diego. Then less than half a minute left in the first quarter, Josh Lambo hits a 32-yard field goal to make it 7-3 as the Chargers cut the Lions' lead to 4 heading into the second quarter. Then in the second quarter, less than 3 minutes in, they get into the end zone a second time, Detroit does. This one a pick six by Glover Quinn as he takes the ball 31 yards all the way into the end zone as he hits pay dirt. And then an extra point is good by Prater, and it was now 14-3 Lions over the Chargers. And then about 4 minutes later, with less than 9 minutes left to play in the first half, Eric Ebron catches an 18-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. Prater hits the extra point, and it's 21-3 Lions over the Chargers. As at this point in the game, it looked like it was all Detroit and they were in control. But then, with 5 minutes left in the first half, the Chargers get into the end zone as Danny Woodhead takes it in from 9 yards out. Lambo hits the extra point, and it's now an 11-point game with the score 21-10 with the Lions in the lead, and that would remain the score going into the locker rooms at halftime. Then in the third quarter, a little over 5.5 minutes in, Lambo hits a 25-yard field goal, his second field goal of the game, and it was now 21-13 as the Chargers cut the Lions' lead to 8. Now with a little over 4 minutes left in the third, Phillip Rivers gets his first touchdown of the game, a 12-yard touchdown pass to Stevie Johnson, and it was now a 1-point game after Lambo hit the extra point with the score Detroit 21, San Diego 20. Then in the fourth quarter, with less than 12 minutes left to play in regulation, Phillip Rivers throws his second touchdown pass of the game, this one a 13-yarder to Ladarius Green, and now the Chargers take the lead for the first time in this game with the score 26-21 San Diego. The extra point was no good as it was wide right. So it was a 5-point lead for the Chargers over the Lions, and then with 2.5 minutes left to play in regulation, Danny Woodhead gets his second rushing touchdown of the day, a 1-yarder as he punches it in. Lambo gets the extra point, and it was now 33-21 as the Chargers take a 12-point lead after having been down by 18 points. They score 30 unanswered points to take the lead here by 12. Of course, they scored 23 of those points in the second half, but the 30 unanswered goes back to a little over 5 minutes left in the second quarter when Woodhead got into the end zone for the first time for San Diego in this game. They had previously just had the 3 points off that field goal by Lambo. But then with a minute left to play, just over a minute left, Stafford hits Theo Riddick for a 21-yard touchdown pass, and that would make it a 5-point game after Prater gets the kick, with the score now 33-28 as they cut the Chargers' lead to 5. But with just a minute left, it was too little, too late as time would run out on the Lions, who let the Chargers come back as Phillip Rivers comes up clutch in this game and puts together a very impressive performance, especially in the second half. And the Chargers win this one with the final score 33-28. So this was like a tale of two games here. As it started out, all Lions. Their defense was dominant. Their offense was putting up points. It looked like they were in control. But then Phillip Rivers, he comes up big. I'll tell you, that's the thing. When you got Phillip Rivers as a quarterback, you're never out of it. He is a guy who always comes on strong in the second half, usually in the fourth quarter, but he got things going. Even, they got on the board and into the end zone. They already were on the board, but they got in the end zone before halftime. and then coming up big in the third and fourth quarter to go up. And like I said, 30 unanswered points against the Lions defense is very impressive. And at the end of the day, Phillip Rivers had over 400 yards. So he had 35 for 42 for 404, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 2 picks. Like I said, he came up clutch and he made the throws when he needed to. And he got the W for the Chargers. Stafford on the other side, he was looking good early on, but they both had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. It just came at more inopportune times for Stafford. He was 19 of 30 for 246 passing yards. And on the ground, we actually had decent performances by both rookie running backs in this game, as Amir Abdullah from Nebraska had 7 attempts for 50 yards. Not a lot of attempts, of course. Half of those yards came on a 24-yard touchdown run. And then, he had 26 yards off of 6 carries besides that. Melvin Gordon, the rookie from Wisconsin, was the game's leading rusher with 14 attempts for 51 yards. So he had twice as many attempts and just 1 more yard than Abdullah. And Joake Bell just 6 for 14 on the ground. Of course, he did have 2 receptions for 27 yards. Abdullah actually had 4 receptions for 44 yards to go along with his 50 to make his total yards 94 on the day, as he was just 6 yards shy of the century mark. And Wood had 12 carries for 42 yards, 2 of which were for touchdowns for the Chargers. He also had 4 receptions for 20 yards. But the game's leading receiver was Keenan Allen, who I believe he broke a franchise record with 15 receptions. He had 166 receiving yards as well. And Stevie Johnson, 6 receptions for 82 yards, including a touchdown. Green had 5 receptions for 74 yards, including a touchdown as well, as he was at tight end in place of Antonio Gates there, who's not in action. Then Eric Ebron, 4 receptions for the Lions for 53 yards and a touchdown. And Riddick, 2 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown as well. So it was an interesting game. Like I said, it was like a tale of 2 games. Early on, it was all Detroit. And then, from 5 minutes left in the first half on, it was all Chargers. Until, the last possession of the game, Detroit got back in the end zone. It was kind of garbage time at that point, being that they were down by 2 scores, less than 2 minutes left. I mean, stranger things have happened, but, at that point, the victory was pretty much well secured by the Chargers. The Chargers, got a good performance out of Emanuel. He had 2 tackles, 1 sack, and an interception. Robinson had an interception as well. And on the other side, Grover Quinn, he had that pick 6. He also had 7 tackles as well to go with that interception. And Slay had the other interception for the Lions. Hunt had a sack, and Ziggy Ansah had a sack as well. So they were, Mathis had 8 tackles. They were looking, good in the first half, but then Phillip Rivers just lit them up. And, you got to wonder what happened there, where they were performing so well, and then to just let up 30 unanswered. And the time of possession, I think it's really what made the difference there, is the Chargers had the ball for 38 minutes and 12 seconds as they kept that Detroit Lions defense on the field. They got them fatigued, and then they ran the score up on them once they had them where they wanted them. And the Lions only had the ball for 21 minutes and 48 seconds. And we look at first downs, the Chargers had 12 more. They had 28 first downs to just 16 first downs for the Lions. And then we look at the third down efficiency. They had twice as many third down conversions, with 6 for 11 versus just 3 for 10 for Detroit. Says the real story right there is that Phillip Rivers coming up clutch on those third downs, converting 6 of them. Well, the team converted 6 of them. They had 20 first downs by passes alone. So they had 28 total. Of course, 5 by rushes and 3 by penalty. But their total net yards was 483 versus just 302 for Detroit. Net rushing 95 versus 69 for the Lions, and their net passing 388 versus just 233 for Detroit. Of course, as I said, Rivers over 400 himself. But, you subtract the 16 for the 2 times he was sacked. Stafford, only sacked once, but it didn't really matter so much. As Rivers, even under pressure, he put up 400 yards. He got him into the end zone, as he threw the 2 touchdowns. They both had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But like I said, it was kind of a matter of, being timely, and being clutch. And that's what Phillip Rivers is, and that's something that Stafford needs to develop. He's shown some flashes of that in the past. But right here, like I said, with the defense just on the field the whole game, Stafford wasn't necessarily able to have as many opportunities. As you saw, he threw the ball 12 less times than Rivers, and that's another reason why the Chargers were able to win this game, is they kept their offense on the field, especially with those third down conversions. They made the plays when they needed to, especially down the stretch, and they kept the Lions defense on the field. And once they got them fatigued, like I said, then they were able to continue to just keep scoring, and the Lions at that point were having trouble shutting them down, getting them off the field, forcing any 3-and-outs or punts at that point. And so that was the recipe for success for the Chargers. So San Diego wins this one in a very impressive fashion, especially being down 21-3 and scoring 30 unanswered. That's very impressive. It's very clutch. Big performance by Phillip Rivers. And the final score, 33-28, San Diego over Detroit. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you had a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.